we're going to court in Massachusetts. Why? Well, because we have to deal with the Trooper Proctor discovery. We were in court on Tuesday. We are back in court Thursday. The Commonwealth is in quite a pickle because the Commonwealth has this unusual position of having federal discovery related to Trooper Proctor that was turned over in the Karen Read case. But then the feds were like, you can only use this in the Read case, but the prosecutors are aware that it exists. Some of them haven't seen it, but Attorney McLaughlin has. And Attorney McLaughlin is on some of the cases that are in court to deal with the federal discovery because all the defense attorneys are like, excuse me, yo. This is the lead investigator. This applies to us too. Can we get some discovery? And the Commonwealth is like, we would love to tell you that, but there's a federal protective order. So we know that it exists, but we can't give it to you. Your Honor, can you help? And the feds are like, there's not much that we can do. So we are in this strange conundrum of what is going on with Trooper Proctor and what are we going to do about it?
Your Honor, I've had the opportunity to have further conversations with the U.S. Attorney's Office, and I can report the following to the court. Ordinarily, the U.S. Attorney's Office would have 2 weeks to reply to the motion that the Commonwealth filed in federal court. We've had some productive conversations, and we're hopeful that we've reached an agreement that will narrow the issues for some period of time. They will be filing a response to our motion in court, seeking modification of the federal protective order, which will do a number of different things. The first thing they will be seeking a modification that will permit the release of the previous court orders so that this court can review those orders. The second thing that the motion for modification will seek is permission for the Norfolk District Attorney's Office to review the remaining confidential materials that were provided to the Read and the Read prosecution and defense teams. So I want to be clear at this point for the purposes of the record that at this point in time, all of the Proctor chats or communications have been produced to the Norfolk District Attorney's Office outside of the protective order, and the Norfolk District Attorney's Office has provided those to all of the defendants who are part of this motion and will continue to provide those to other defendants. However, that left the remainder of the confidential materials which we had not been allowed to review. So the motion will seek permission for us to be allowed to review those additional materials.
As a summary for the hearing that we watched today regarding the discovery in the plethora of Massachusetts cases that are dealing with the Proctor fallout, it sounds that the Commonwealth has made some headway with the feds to start getting discovery turned over, which I was actually surprised about. That shit happened between Tuesday and today. It was a pretty short hearing, but we came into the hearing today and heard the prosecution say, look, we can turn over the things that were under federal protective order. That's the first group of stuff. The things that were under federal protective order. That federal protective order is being modified. That's a lot of what was discussed on Tuesday. The things that were under protective order that are in the possession of the DA's office, the Norfolk DA's office, is the stuff from the Karen Read case, right? When the Commonwealth said we can turn those over, the protective order has been modified to give those to the other defense attorneys, those things will get turned over or have been turned over. That's the first bunch of stuff. The next two groupings of discovery are things that the Commonwealth represented to the court that the feds are allowing the Commonwealth to review, which are grand jury materials and non-grand jury materials. So two additional groups of discovery that the Commonwealth has not yet seen. Is that the same grand jury as Karen Read, or is this a different grand jury regarding different investigations and different things? I do not know. We will see. It's possible that it's the same, but if it is the same, why wasn't it already part of the discovery turned over in the Read case? Perhaps it's not the same. Do we know that for a fact? No. But the question lingers. If the grand jury materials are being turned over and no one has seen them yet, and they weren't turned over in the Reed case, is it something separate? I have to wonder if it is. And then there are non-grand jury materials that the Commonwealth has not reviewed and has not reviewed to turn over. So it seems that where we're at is the materials that were turned over in the Reed case are getting turned over, that the materials from grand jury that have not been turned over and non-grand jury that have not been turned over are going to be reviewed by the Commonwealth to determine if they need to be disclosed and turned over. And then they will determine if there is an additional protective order that needs to be turned over if the federal court agrees that it can be turned over. So the federal court has agreed to a little bit. The feds said you can review it to see if there is potential discovery that needs to be turned over. And then we will see if the federal court allows that to be turned over. So it's like a two-step process for the next part. But that's actually a lot of movement in 2 days. And I have to wonder why this couldn't have been done sooner. I don't know. Maybe the deadline made everybody move a little bit quicker, but they really did make quite a lot of motion in this case between Tuesday and today. So the court set a future hearing on discovery, process of discovery, and the rest of it for August 28th, 2025 at 2 p.m. We will probably be in trial, so we will record it and get back to it a different day because Brian Walsh's attorney said, this is all well and good, but like we have a trial date in October 2025. It's almost September. Like if we don't have discovery, we don't have a ruling on our motion to dismiss. We can't even start motions in limine. Like tick-tock on the clock, y'all. We have a trial date. And I think that the other defense attorneys are probably in a better position because the Walsh case is moving forward to trial. So if it's getting handled in the Walsh case, the other 4 cases are going to be benefited by that because the discovery in their cases will move along at the speed of the Walsh case. So it looks like when it comes to the Brian Walsh case, I imagine that case will be televised and the discovery motions will be findable. And I definitely need to find them. But it looks like we're going to be keeping an eye on the discovery in the Walsh case and the King case a little bit more because the Proctor problems aren't done and we're invested now. So here we are. The Proctor problems aren't done. And then there's stuff moving along in the Karen Reed civil case. There are other cases that we want to loop back in on. But as we talked about yesterday, the Donna Adelson case is getting ready to go to trial next week. So we're going to be in trial just a little bit. And then we are going to circle back to this because by the time we're done with the Adelson case and a little bit of travel for me, it's going to be October. So the Walsh case is going to be right around the corner. And I don't think we have anything on the schedule because we were going to be covering cases in Idaho and we're not. So I think we might have a little bit of room in October if that case goes to trial in October because it'll be done before February when we are going to be in Utah. So we have lots of plans. Thanks for joining me. If you enjoyed this episode and don't want to miss updates on your favorite cases, you're going to need the Law Nerd app at lawnerd.app.com. That way you can stay in the loop on the cases that matter most to you, and you never know when you're going to catch feelings for a new case. So make sure you get it for free on iOS and Android. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being a Law Nerd.